Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CPAC Chairman, the Honorable Matt Schlapp, and CPAC Senior Fellow, the Honorable Diana Schlapp.
Well, first of all, it's wonderful to see our friends from Poland. Thank you for being here. What an honor. You know, as we've taken this journey around the globe, Mercedes and the CPAC board and our CPAC team, we've learned a few things. And we've learned that people are incredibly concerned that America is slipping. They're incredibly concerned that Americans don't understand how special this country is. We were able to have a CPAC in Poland literally 5 days before their crucial election. It wasn't really our event. It was the Polish people's event. It was their event, the freedom lovers, to try to do the improbable. Can you imagine, have you ever heard of this political story? A candidate comes from nowhere, who's an outsider, who hasn't done it before, and has the courage to say, I want to change my country. Yeah. That's what happened in Poland. Now, the Polish history is a beautiful history. It's a tough history. It's a history riddled with disappointments. But the modern chapter of the Polish history is a brave people that would not succumb to communism, that listened to great forefathers like the great John Paul II. Put God at the center, and they never, never, never gave in. Now, what's going on in America? Freedom lovers around the world are watching America. They're watching Mayor Mondami. They're watching AOC. As Poland shed its communist past, America is now flirting with a communist future. And it's an important moment for our country to hear from one of these unique fighters for freedom in Europe who is saying no to the globalists, No to Brussels, no to the UN, no to the WHO, and yes to freedom. It's our great honor for CPAC USA to introduce the President of Poland, Karol Nawrocki.
Dzień dobry. Matt Mercedes, thank you very much for all you're doing. Thank you for this introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, dear American patriots, it is a true honor to stand here with you in Texas, a land that symbolizes what America is all about, a strength, independence, and pride in your nation. I bring you greetings from Poland, a country that understands what freedom truly costs and why it must always be defended. This year, in just a couple of months, the United States will celebrate 250 years of independence. 250 years ago, your founding fathers made a bold choice, a one full of uncertainty. They rejected tyranny, they rejected control from afar. They chose liberty, responsibility, and sovereignty. And by doing so, they changed the world. But let me tell you something that matters deeply to us in Poland. You were not alone in that fight. When America fought for independence, Poles stood shoulder to shoulder with you. Tadeusz Kościuszko and Kazimierz Puławski, Polish patriots, soldiers of liberty, fought for American independence. Both devoted their lives to the same ideal, the defense of freedom. And there is one more story, less known but also important. Chaim Salomon, a man born and raised in Poland, who lived in New York City. When the Continental Congress was running out of money, Chaim Salomon helped finance the American Revolution. He used his own resources to keep the cause of freedom alive. He did not fight with a sword, rifle, or cannon. He fought with commitment, with trust, with belief in the future of a free nation. This is also part of our shared history. Polish heroes did not only fight to America, they helped build it. They came because they believed something simple and powerful, that freedom anywhere is worth defending everywhere. And that... And ladies and gentlemen, and as I'm standing here, I can state with certainty that this belief still connects and resonates in our nations today. Ladies and gentlemen, Poland and the United States are not just allies. We are nations built on the same idea. The government should serve the people, not rule over them. That freedom must be protected, not managed. That tradition matters because it gives meaning to freedom. In America, these ideas were shaped by your founding fathers. In Poland, they reach back centuries to a time when we built one of the first republics in Europe, where power was limited, where citizens had a voice, and where liberty was part of our identity. We are two nations, two continents apart, but rooted in the same Christian civilization. And today, that civilization is unfortunately under pressure, not just from outside, but also from within. We hear voices telling us that patriotism is something to be ashamed of, that borders don't matter, that faith should be pushed out of public life, that tradition is something to be erased. You hear it here in America, we hear it on the other side of the pond in Europe. But let me say this clearly, a nation without identity is a nation without a future. And I'm sure that we in Poland and here in the United States will not allow that to happen, because we know something that many elites have forgotten. Freedom does not survive on its own. It needs strong families, it needs strong communities, it needs people who are willing to defend it. Once more, thank you, Matt, thank you, Mercedes. We also know that threats to our way of life are not just cultural. They are real. They are geopolitical. They are dangerous. In Europe today, we face an aggressive Russia, a regime that invades its neighbors, a regime that destroys cities, a regime that believes power gives it the right to dominate others. And today, that same regime tries to tell the world, we are the defenders of traditional values. This is a lie. Russia does not defend conservatism. Russia represents corruption and violence. True conservatism respects nations. True conservatism respects human dignity. True conservatism believes in freedom under law. We also see other threats. The regimes in different parts of the world spreading instability and terror in their respective regions and beyond. These authoritarian powers that want to reshape the world, not around freedom, but around control. And in the face of these threats, we have a choice: to stand divided or to stand together. Poland has made its choice. We stayed with the United States just like we always have. "250 years ago, during the First and Second World Wars, in the aftermath of the 9/11 terrorist attack, not because it is convenient, but because it is right. Because you know, ladies and gentlemen, alliances are not built only in conference rooms and behind closed doors. They are built on the battlefield. They are built in moments of courage. They are built in moments of sacrifice, including the courage and ultimate sacrifice shown by the 66 Polish soldiers who gave their lives We stood together in Iraq. At sometimes, that partnership is written in the most powerful way possible in blood. Let me tell you a story. Not long ago, in the White House, a solemn ceremony took place. The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously to Staff Sergeant Michael Ollis, who gave his life in Afghanistan. But he did not give it for his own countrymen. He gave it to save a Polish soldier, Lieutenant Karol Cierpica, my friend. In a moment of ultimate courage, he stepped forward. He took the blow meant for another man, a Polishman, a brother in arms. The very same day that the Medal of Honor was bestowed upon Staff Sergeant Ollis by President Trump, Poland honored him as well. Because Poland remembers, because Poland understands what that sacrifices mean, because Poland knows that freedom is never free. You cannot build a stronger alliance than this. This is not politics. This is brotherhood. This is what binds Poland and the United States together, not just as allies, but as a family. May Michael Ollis rest in peace. May the 66 Polish soldiers who gave their lives for freedom and the thousands of heroes from both our nations who made the ultimate sacrifice rest in peace. Let's respect them together, ladies and gentlemen. Let me add something important. The challenges we face do not come only from outside. In Europe, they also come from within our own community. Let me be clear. Poland made the right decision in joining the European Union, and we want to be part of the EU. I believe and I hope the majority of my compatriots share this view, that Poland has a voice and the right to speak up. For the past 20 years, we have been part of the EU, and now it needs urgent repair. We see policies that, however well-intended they may be, risk weakening the very foundations of our strength. We see even more powerful bureaucrats making decisions that go against common sense. And instead of strengthening Europe, they weaken it. I'm talking about energy policies that move too fast, with no regard for economic reality and energy security. There are migration policies that fail to protect borders and social cohesion. There are moves to centralize decision-making, sidelining nations, and democratic accountability. And sometimes we see ideological projects that move us away from the values that built our Christian civilization, rather than reinforcing them. I believe that Europe and America are strongest where they respected their nations, when they respect their traditions, when they listen to their people. Poland is committed to transatlantic realm of strong nations, and not a one that forgets where its strength comes from. Ladies and gentlemen, Poland is a success story of freedom. Just one generation ago, we were behind the Iron Curtain, a communist system. But that was not our choice. After World War II, Poland did not regain its freedom, even though we fought on every front of the war. Unfortunately, after the brutal German occupation, another occupation came, this time imposed by the Soviet Union. And that occupation lasted almost 50 years. But let me tell you something important. The Polish people never accepted it. Never. Even in the darkest times, there were those who refused to surrender. The CAS soldiers, underground fighters, or General Ryszard Kuklinski, who helped expose Soviet plans to attack NATO countries. In doing so, they not only defended Poland's future, but also built the foundations of the future Polish-American relationship. There was also a man who reminded the world who we are. Pope John Paul II. And finally, a movement that changed history, Solidarność. And yes, we were fortunate enough to have friends beyond our borders, leaders like Ronald Reagan, who had the courage to call evil by its name. Together, through faith, courage, and solidarity, we regained our independence. And today, Poland has become one of the fastest growing economies in Europe. Our GDP has reached over $1 trillion. Think about that. In one generation, we went from communism to prosperity, from control to opportunity, from dependence to strength. A nation finally free to realize its full potential. And this did not happen by accident. It happened because we chose freedom, because we chose hard work, because we chose strong partnership with the United States, our European allies, and like-minded partners around the globe. And this partnership is not just words, it is action. We believe in our Polish-American alliance, but we also believe in the North Atlantic Alliance, the most powerful military alliance in the history of the world, led by the United States. I agree with President Trump when he calls on European countries to increase their spending on our shared security. Yes, Europe must spend more. Yes, Europe must take greater responsibility for its own security. In Poland, we understand this. That is why we stand as the Eastern Guard of Europe, of Western civilization, which we defend against tyranny, lies, and violence from the East, from Russia, though not only from there. But we will not accomplish this great task alone, nor even in cooperation with the United States alone. We need our allies, we need their commitment and their sacrifice to preserve freedom. That is why we need to develop and strengthen NATO. Today, Poland is one of the strongest allies of the United States in Europe. We invest in our military. We invest in our military because we know peace requires strength. We spend 5% of our GDP on defense. We invest billions of dollars in American-made military technology, including F-35s that are produced here in Texas. Congratulations. And ladies and gentlemen, we host thousands of American troops because we believe in real alliances, not symbolic ones. And let me say this clearly. We host American troops on the shoulders of the Polish taxpayer because we understand what solidarity means. We understand what border sharing means. We do not just talk about alliance. We pay for it. We support it. We strengthen it. And when American soldiers walk the streets of Polish cities, towns, and villages, they are not strangers. They are welcomed and respected. For the first time, I would like to emphasize this. I would like to emphasize this. values. For the first time in history, Poles are glad that foreign troops are stationed in their country. Polish and American troops stand on the front line of NATO because we understand what is at stake. But our operation goes beyond security. It includes energy independence. For years, some European states in their navy decided to depend on unreliable partners who use energy as a weapon. Poland said no. We chose diversification and cooperation with the United States. And together we are building something even bigger. The Three Seas Initiative, a project that connects countries from the Baltic to the Adriatic and the Black Sea. It is about infrastructure, it is about energy security, it is about economic strength, but above all, it is about freedom. For the past 10 years, we have been turning this vision into reality. We are the fastest growing region in Europe. We have invested billions of euros in roads, railways, broadband networks. We are doing this to create stronger connections and better opportunities for the 120 million people of Central and Southeastern Europe. Because a region that is connected, developed, and independent is a region that cannot be controlled by authoritarian powers. President Donald Trump understands it. In 2007, Poland organized the Three Seas Initiative Summit in our capital, in Warsaw. President Trump was there to support the initiative. He also gave one of the most memorable speeches in our recent history. Your president is a true friend of Poland, but he is also a real fighter. President Donald Trump fighting for a better life for the American people, including the nearly 10 million Poles who have made America their home. We need leaders like him, leaders who put the people first, protect the jobs, defend families, and secure the future. Dear friends, we are living in a moment of decision, a moment when the future of our civilization will be shaped by the choices we make today. Will we defend our values or abandon them? Will we stand strong or step back? Will we remember who we are or forget? Poland has made its choice. We choose sovereignty, we choose to respect tradition, we choose freedom. 250 years ago, America